Hello, good evening, everybody. And सबसे पहले Prasanna Kumar ji, thank you very much for inviting me on this prestigious platform. And today I'm here to talk about my journey as a poetess, as a writer, and as an unevolved human being. I'm here to talk about that. So, as you all know my name, I am an author, I'm a poetess, and I'm a motivational speaker, apart from being an army officer, which I was, and I hung my boots in 2008. And then I walked the beauty pageant ramps, and I earned the most vivacious woman at Gladrags Mrs India 2009. After that, I decided to become a full-time author and a full-time poetess. So today, first, before I begin, I just want to tell you, while I was in college, I realized that the best medium of my expression for any kind of emotion that I used to have is writing a poem and telling my views, or telling, I used to imagine answering a particular person in the form of my own poem. Obviously, I never let that other person read my poem, but in my mind, I had that solace. So this made me start writing a lot of poems. And in those days, that was an AIR, that is the All India Radio in Allahabad. They used to have this Yuvani program, and I was definitely a young, not so happening girl of Allahabad in a college in Allahabad University. So I used to cycle my way from my house almost, I think, 5, 7, 8 kilometers. And it was a very old cycle also. So I used to go there and read out my poems, and I used to earn 75 rupees in 90s, I think early 90s, 91, 92. And it used to be a big amount for me then. And then it prompted me to write a poem for American Poetry Anthology, which got selected. But they asked me a few dollars, I think $16, to send that book to me. I could never buy because I never had those dollars. Okay, so I wanted to create my own footprints. I basically wanted to create my own footprints in whichever area I was in. But then in those days, it was not so easy to create your footprints with all the restrictions around being the girl child in a small city with not much facilities around. And I first decided, first I establish myself as a strong person, and then I'll be able to voice my expressions. Now, having been born in a very regimental family, my father being very strict, I was not allowed to speak at home at all. And studying in a convent, that again was like, I always had that brown paper on my lips or finger on my lips, because teachers kept on telling me, don't speak, don't speak, don't speak, you're very talkative. So all these talkative things which kept on rumbling into my intestines, because at home I never was allowed to speak. At school I was not allowed to speak. So I realized, and I was studying in a school where everybody other than me was a mermaid. I was a tortoise in the sea of mermaid in a very posh English medium, I think. I mean, it was a convent school. So I was like kind of a tortoise in the sea of mermaids. So I had nothing much to talk to the girls as well. That is how I started going towards and more towards the poetry. And it so happened, I happened to join army. Now army is all about, again, taking orders without questioning your seniors, taking orders without questioning the system. Now, there were certain things that used to look very sometimes funny to me. I wanted to ask certain things, but I couldn't. So I started again writing. I continued. So God has been very kind in giving me an environment where I was not allowed to speak. And hence I became a poet, or a poetess, to be precise. So this is my journey of writing poetry. And during the first wave of Corona, I sat down and typed everything on my mobile, and I wrote around 100 poems, which I used to write while I was in college and while in, as I'm telling you, in the AIR also, I went and read them out. I collected all of them, which were scribbled on a tissue paper. They were scribbled on a backside of a notebook, scribbled on a yellow page diary. I just collected and I typed each of them on my mobile and I sent it to publishers. And they asked me to have 100 of them. And that created this book called Ahsas. And this is a collection of 100 Hindi poems, which I attempted as a debut effort of mine to get my Hindi poems published. I started writing in Hindi as only, and then I later on went on to English. So before we move further, I would like to read out two of my poems, which I had written in my college time. And I'll just read it out to you all. Ahsas is the name of the book, and one of my poem is Ahsas only. And based on that only, I had given this name. Ahsas. हर पल कोई ना कोई एहसास, कभी अकेलेपन की खोज, कभी भरी महफिल में अकेले होने का एहसास, कभी अपने ही दुखों से अनजान, कभी दूसरों के दुख देखकर द्रवित होने का एहसास. द्रवित मीन्स पेन्ड. कभी बहुत कुछ पा लेने की चाह, कभी पग पग पर मिलने वाली हार से मन के चटक जाने का एहसास, कभी नभ मीन्स आसमान, कभी नभ के तारों को छूने का स्वप्न, तो कभी पैरों तले यथार्थ भरी ठोस धरती होने का एहसास. हर पल कोई ना कोई एहसास. So this was when I was in college. I was definitely failing a lot many times. CPMT was my first competitive exam I gave after class 12 in my first year of, I think, just after my 12th. And I failed in getting through the medical entrance exam. And that's why I couldn't become a doctor. Okay. So there were many failures as such. And छोटे-छोटे तो रोज ही होते रहते थे कुछ ना कुछ failure. So there was a constant fear of battle of तरह-तरह के विचार, तरह-तरह क्या होगा, भविष्य में क्या होगा, what will I do, what will happen to me, and what will my parents force me into. Maybe they'll get me married and they'll not wait for me to build on my career or something, where there were so many thoughts coming to me. So this was one of my poem which I had written in those days. And at the same time, okay, as I was talking to Prasanna ji, एक कवि जो होता है, कवि basically is a very emotional human being. That's why I said I'm an unevolved human being. अगर मैं evolved हो जाऊंगी, so I might not be able to feel these emotions, the hurt, the anger, the pain, the sadness, the happiness, the ecstasy, the प्यार, वो सब कुछ बराबर हो जाएगा. मतलब मैं इतना निर्वाणा हो जाएगा या मैं इतनी evolved हो जाऊंगी, so I may not able to write anything. So I never want to be a highly evolved person. जैसे मैं motivational speakers को सुनती हूँ, and I myself is a motivational speaker, and I do teach people to become evolved and balanced and calm and all that. But I think if I will go away from my poem. I will go away from my poetry. So I don't want to go away. So I will never be an evolved person, I should say. तो उन्हीं दिनों when you are young, you are full of dreams, you are full of imagination, and imagination में भी आप एक तरफ तो करियर की है, एक तरफ तो लाइफ का है, एक तरफ स्ट्रगल है, एक छोटा सा एहसास भी है, प्यार का भी बहुत ज्यादा उन दिनों होता है when you are young, when you are like wanting to do so many things. So उसी समय मैंने एक और पोएम लिखी थी, like for my imaginary not exactly an imaginary lover, something that I had desired my lover to be, basically. What kind of a lover I was seeking in those days. So that is there. मुझे तलाश है. This is again published in this book. मुझे तलाश है. सितारों की भीड़ में मुझे चंदा की तलाश है. सितारों की भीड़ में मुझे चंदा की तलाश है. हर सितारे को 2 घड़ी पास आने की चाहत है. कैसे समझाऊं उन्हें कि मुझे सिर्फ चंदा की तलाश है. हर सितारे की नजर का बस एक ही सवाल है, क्यों दूर हूं मैं उनसे और क्यों मुझे चंदा की तलाश है. तो मैं कहती हूं उनको, सितारों की चमक चंदा की ही चमक से है. सितारों की चमक चंदा की ही चमक से है. मैं भी चमकूं उससे, इसीलिए मुझे चंदा की तलाश है. So these were my childhood type of poems, or rather youthful youth days की poem थी मेरी. और भी बहुत सारी हैं इसमें, छोटी छोटी इस तरीके से, जो हम प्यार मोहब्बत की भी बातें करते हैं, जिसमें हम बहुत सारे अपने इमेजिनरी लवर्स के लिए भी लिख लेते हैं. उस जमाने में तो मुझे नहीं लगता है कि हम आई वॉज अलाउड टू हैव अ बॉयफ्रेंड ऑल्सो. आई नेवर वॉज अलाउड टू हैव अ लवर. फॉरगेट अबाउट लवर, इट वॉज नॉट इवन अलाउड टू टॉक टू द friends also of the opposite gender. So as a girl, what you do, you have a very imaginative mind. You create imaginary lovers actually in your head, and you create imaginary boyfriend. So उन्हीं के ऊपर कम से कम मैंने तो पता नहीं कितनी 50 पोएम लिख डाली थी. I don't know. There's nobody in this poem, but जैसे I wrote one poem very interesting. The first one, खबर पक्की है. This is for some unknown person, or basically from my imagination. So I'm like asking this guy, खबर पक्की है कि तुम प्यार करते हो. खबर पक्की है कि तुम प्यार करते हो, मगर किससे ये जानने का इंतजार करते हो. यस, खबर पक्की है कि तुम प्यार करते हो, मगर किससे ये जानने का इंतजार करते हो. पर शायद खड़ा है किसी कोने में प्यार. प्यार शायद खड़ा है किसी कोने में, पर तुम प्यार को आवाज देने से डरते हो. तुम्हारा प्यार चलकर तुम तक नहीं आता है. तुम्हारा प्यार चलकर तुम तक नहीं आता है, और तुम आगे बढ़कर प्यार को नहीं पकड़ते हो. अपने प्यार का जिक्र तो करो कभी. अपने प्यार का जिक्र तो करो कभी. चुप रहकर कमाल क्या खूब तुम करते हो. So this was something about love and life, and I think poetry keeps like swinging like a pendulum between love, life, love and life. और ये सब दर्द और खुशी के सारी चीजें हमारे love and life में ही हैं. So this was one of my book, and then I'm very fond of writing quotes, 4-liners, मुक्तक, जो कि बोलते हैं मुक्तक. तो मुक्तक 4-4 लाइन की कोट्स होते हैं, जो कि मेरी उसी जमाने में 90s में सरिता नाम की एक बुक होती है, हिंदी मैगजीन, उसमें 4 लाइन के कोने में छपते थे. वो मेरे छपना शुरू हो गए थे. तो उन्हीं में मैंने इस तरह मैं उसी टाइप की लिखते लिखते ये एक किताब छपी है, छोटी सी बात, जो कि सिर्फ कोट्स की है, सिर्फ एक कोट्स की किताब है. तो जैसे ये अगर आप पीछे देखेंगे, इसमें मेरा फोटो है, उसके ऊपर एक कोट है मेरा ही. तो मैं आपको वही पढ़ के सुनाती हूँ. मैं हवाओं में हूँ, मैं हवाओं में हूँ, थाम सको तो थाम लो. मैं हवाओं में हूँ, थाम सको तो थाम लो. जिस पल हूँ तुम्हारे साथ, उस पल में मुझको बांध सको तो बांध लो. मैं हवाओं में हूँ, थाम सको तो थाम लो. जिस पल हूँ तुम्हारे साथ, उस पल में मुझे बांध सको तो बांध लो. This is my one of the quotes. Okay, so this you can see, these are the quotes all written by me. These are, I think, 49 quotes a book of 49 quotes. So I'll read one more from this. दिलों की महफिल कहाँ लगती है आजकल, दिलों की महफिल कहाँ लगती है आजकल, मुझे तो हर तरफ दिमाग की ज़रहबाजी ही नजर आती है. मतलब डिबेट, दिस अ डिबेट ऑल ओवर, दिमाग लगा लगा के. सो दिलों की महफिल कहाँ लगती है आजकल, मुझे तो हर तरफ दिमाग की ज़रहबाजी ही नजर आती है. सो दिस इज अनदर okay. Acha, then there's something like very interesting small शायरी, if you can see this one. This one is कुछ बासी शायरियां हैं जो पूरी करनी है, कुछ बासी शायरियां हैं जो पूरी करनी है, तुम्हें हटाकर नई यादें भर्ती करनी है, तुम्हें हटाकर नई यादें भर्ती करनी है. So okay. Then another one. आजकल दिल को छुपाकर न जाने कहाँ रखते हैं लोग, आजकल दिल को छुपाकर न जाने कहाँ रखते हैं लोग, हमारे जमाने में तो ऐसी कोई भी अलमारी ही नहीं बिकती थी. आजकल दिल को छुपाकर न जाने कहाँ रखते हैं लोग, हमारे जमाने में तो ऐसी कोई भी अलमारी ही नहीं बिकती थी. We couldn't hide our heart anywhere in any of the almari, what I could say. Okay. So another one I would like to, and these are the photographs also. If you can see, this is a photograph base. I pick it up from an app called Quote, and relevant photo I used to write, and when I used to write, I used to select that photograph. So this one is, आप देख रहे हो एक लड़की यहाँ जूड़ा बना के खड़ी है. तो मैं इसके ऊपर ही मैंने लिखा, अक्सर बांध कर रखती हूँ कभी जूड़े में कभी मुट्ठी में, अक्सर बांध कर रखती हूँ कभी जूड़े में कभी मुट्ठी में, और कभी कदमों की आहटों में, अपने एहसासों को अपने अरमानों. अक्सर बांध कर रखती हूँ कभी जूड़े में कभी मुट्ठी में, और कभी कदमों की आहटों में, अपने एहसासों को और अपने अरमानों को. So these are basically a lot of quotes. Okay, one more I will read. मुझसे लड़कर मुझसे जीतने की तो बिल्कुल मत सोचना, मुझसे लड़कर मुझसे जीतने की तो बिल्कुल मत सोचना, एक पल में हरा दूंगी तुम्हें माफ करके. So this is one of one of the second book that I had written, and now I'll talk about my debut book, which is the Pink Scarecrow. This is my first attempt of writing a book. This is a fiction in the military backdrop. It is a romantic suspense. I'm a die-hard romantic person, so I write romance. And ये मेरा पहला debut effort था, so to write a military romantic suspense novel in the backdrop of the military. So this is the Pink Scarecrow. This got published in 2013. So I think people must have read it. I'm sure they must have loved it. I don't know, but it was my very basic debut effort. So now coming to my latest book, which is this. This is my book called Olive Green to Beauty Queen. And this is my autobiography, which talks about how when I hung my military boots in 2008, how I went into a kind of a depression because I did not know what to do, because I became from somebody to nobody. And then I felt so depressed that I did not know what to do. But as I was telling Prasanna ji, we have to grab the opportunities, we have to grab the challenges, we have to take them by their horns. And I believe in one very strong mantra, that is, make best use of whatever you have got in your life. So this is what I did. I thought of walking the beauty pageant. Of course, it was not easy to get selected. Out of 2,000 very, very beautiful women, pan-India, only 22 were to be selected for Gladrags Mrs India 2009. I was one of them. And it became further difficult for me to learn to walk the ramp, to learn to be dressed up like them. So this book is all about that journey, how interesting it was, how funny it was, and how I was again a tortoise in the sea of mermaids. But then how did I came out with the award of most vivacious woman. So this is my book. And do read, all of you, if all of you love it. I mean, you should read it. You'll get thoroughly entertained and thoroughly motivated as well. Now, my next upcoming book is called No Woman's Land. Now, this book will be released in June or July by Readomania. This is all about my journey, how from a small town of Allahabad with with no facility, actually, no facility, and nothing in my hand, nothing, no help, no guidance, no era of internet, nobody. How did I think to join in an army? How did I got selected in that? And I was, it's a very proud moment for me to tell all of you through this platform that, like I was just telling, 2000 out of 2000 women, only 22 were to be selected to walk the ramp. Similarly, I don't know how many women must have appeared in that exam of SSB, that is in 1993. Only 25 vacancies were there pan-India. It was a very tough exam, and I was sixth in the merit. This I would talk with great pride. And I made it to the Officers Training Academy from the city of Allahabad as the first girl from Allahabad to join in an army. And I was blessed to be earning a lot of first as I went into the army, being the first girl to join, to be in the counter, the first lady officer to be in the counter-insurgency operation. Then there was the Kargil war, and I was part of it. I was posted in the further eastmost area. Then there was this Operation Parakram. I was part of that also. When there was an attack on the parliament, I was posted in the Rajasthan. And then, as I said, I came back home after putting 14 years of service, because those days it was only for 14 years for the women officers. And then I decided to I decided to learn how to, the nuances of the woman, basically, because in the army, I was like always doing this. In the military format, I was definitely not flaunting my womanly side. I had literally brushed it under the carpet. So that is what I wanted to survive in the civil. I thought I have to learn back all the forgotten techniques of being a woman. And that is why I was there in the beauty pageant. So now I would like to, we have some time, I will like to read a poem which I wrote, I think today only, very small poem. You may stand on a crossroad and doubt each available road. You may stand on a crossroad and doubt each available road. Yet you tread on one trend to reach maybe a real dead end. Come back and pick up your footprints, which you thought got wasted. Come back and pick up your footprints, which you thought got wasted, because you hadn't created them, but had copied and pasted. Change now, not your shoes, but change your vision, and pick up life's load by choosing yet another blind road. Then let the road guide your feet with its watchful eyes. You walk and walk. The last step may be a turning point of your own life. So this is what I wrote today only, and for this platform today. I hope you will love it. I hope you love this poem. It's a kind of motivational, or I should say, something like somebody trying to teach the listeners. And similarly, I'd written another poem. If we have time, I think we have time, Prasanna ji. Okay. कुछ लड़ाई, कुछ लड़ाई, कुछ लड़ाई ऐसी होती है जो खुद को खुद से लड़नी होती है. This is all my life. This is all what you're hearing is all about my life. It is, my life is in words which I'm expressing, or in the books, or the words, or the stanzas, or the prose, or the rhymes that I'm talking about. So कुछ लड़ाई ऐसी होती है जो खुद को खुद से लड़नी होती है. इतनी मसोस, इतनी कश्मकश, खुद पर अफसोस, कभी खुद से रश्क. ना किसी से शिकायत, ना किसी से उम्मीद, बस खुद से शिकायत, बस खुद से ही उम्मीद. ना किसी से शिकायत, ना किसी से उम्मीद, बस खुद से ही शिकायत, बस खुद से ही उम्मीद. जिंदगी की चाल कभी सीधी, कभी टेढ़ी. जिंदगी की चाल कभी सीधी तो कभी टेढ़ी. जब खुद से पूछा चले आगे, तो रुकने की सोची कब. चल चल कर थक गए, यस, चल चल कर थक गए, पांवों में दरार की लकीरें लेकर. खुद ही को फिर भी चलते ही रहना है. दरारें जमीन की मिट्टी से अपने आप भर जाती हैं. दरारें जमीन की मिट्टी से अपने आप भर जाती हैं. किसे हराना है, किसे हराना है, किसे जिताना है. छुपे बैठे मन में दुश्मनों को हराना है. Yes, you have to win your those negative thoughts that come to your head, which says that you cannot do anything, which depresses you, which demotivates you. किसे हराना है, किसे जिताना है. छुपे बैठे मन में दुश्मनों को हराना है. चाहे चुपके से, चाहे शोर मचा के. हराना तो है, चाहे चुपके से, चाहे शोर मचा के. बस खुद को खुद से ही जिताना है. खुद को खुद से ही जिताना है. कुछ लड़ाई ऐसी होती है जो खुद को खुद से लड़नी होती है. So I think I have been able to speak out my heart, mind, and soul on this platform. If we do have time, we can talk, or we can I can answer any questions, and anything if anybody wants to know, I am there to tell you in plain, simple words, or in poetic language, or in prose, or whatever, whichever way you want to. Okay, so thanks a lot. I think there's no question coming up and nobody. So I'm sure you must have loved it. I enjoyed it. I'm so glad to be here. और आज मेरे को एकदम वीर रस आ गया. प्रसन्ना जी, आपके इस प्लेटफॉर्म में generally I try to hide my army officer in the civil world, but आज आपने मेरे अंदर वो जोश और आर्मी ऑफिसर वाला वो निकाल दिया. एंड मैं, आप देख सकते हो मेरे इस प्लेटफॉर्म में आई एम फुल ऑफ जोश. एंड थैंक्स टू यू दैट यही मेरा असली रूप है. और कोई रूप मेरा सब नकली है, बाकी सारी नकली है. वही मेरा असली रूप है. सो थैंक यू वेरी मच. थैंक यू सो मच.